Welcome to Inside the Game on the National Soccer Network. Now, here are your hosts, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wangler.
And good morning here from our PMG studios in Shelby Township, Michigan. I'm Jonathan Turner alongside Nathan Wangler. He's out in Grand Rapids. And Nathan, man, good morning.
Rapids, and yeah, it's a good morning. Hello, how are you? You kind of mean mugging coming out of break there. I wasn't sure if okay, now you're smiling. There we go. You got a little grin crossing the face. That's good. We're feeling good today. We're feeling light. We're feeling on our toes. Hello. Welcome, everybody, into Inside the Game, the podcast. Another great episode, another opportunity to chop it up about what's going on in the soccer world. Had a lot of the good things that we covered yesterday, but obviously still some more to get to today. But, yes, I am in Grand Rapids. You know, it's great. The people who founded the city actually saw the Rapids tearing through the middle of what is now downtown, and they're like, man, that's pretty grand, isn't it? That's where it came from. That's where it came from. That's literally the story. Yeah. So it's pretty straightforward, man.
It's a grand river we've got over
here. It was quite grand. Still is grand. A little dirtier now than what it used to be. But, yeah, it's still grand. Still running.
Those rapids are quite grand.
Carrying the logs, man.
Hey, so we've been throughout the week, we have been kind of updating our setup. Right, and so obviously what you see on our screen is different than what would have been last week if you've been watching the show, and we've made some continuous adjustments. One of those adjustments being that now we have another camera that faces our couch here in our studio. We'll put it on the screen right now.
Pause.
You quickly did it. You hit it twice. Do it again, Ryan. Yeah, stop hitting it twice. Just hit it once. But we have that right there. So if we ever have a guest sitting in our studios, we could have them sitting right there on that couch and be entertained, be involved. But nice, and that's the wall also that we're going to be adding all of our gear to, right? So we've been talking about getting people to send us their gear. We'll continue to talk about that. But another thing that we've done is we've added in a producer now. And Ryan, we'll have a number of producers sitting in our chair, but Ryan is in our chair here today. There's Ryan. Ryan waving. There's our producer chair. Ryan, welcome on the Inside the Game. So this is
Thanks for having me.
A little different. You've seen Ryan, but he's been here.
Thank you. Thanks for the standing ovation.
Yeah!
I would stand up, and then you would just see my nuts.
Woo!
It doesn't make any sense. But anyways, Ryan, welcome into the show.
Oh, thank you.
Don't forget, you have to make sure your mic is muted, unmuted, by the way, if you didn't already do that.
Yeah, I'm on.
No, yeah, he's on. I hear him.
All right,
I hear him.
Cool.
Thanks for having me again. I felt like Lincoln Park last night with a standing ovation from Mr. Wangler over there. So yeah, it's awesome to be a part of it. Hopefully on a couple days a week or every week basis. So yeah, let's have some fun.
Let's have some fun. That's right. Random Aussie, by the way, has made his way into the chat. It's something that we are going to we will find a way to add in your chats back into our system here. It's one of the things that we will figure out. It's just I've been focusing on the look and feel over the last couple of days, but we will find a way to get your comments on the screen, because that's a big part of what we've done here over the past, and we will try to continue to do that here in the future. We'll have some more new look and feel here next week as well. But yeah, this is it's been fun being able to kind of update our studios and set this up so that we are in a much better place for success.
I agree. I think it's a good setup. I think it's good to have Ryan along. We've kind of been looking for producers, someone to push the buttons for a while. So, I push the buttons. I push your buttons, but I'm not actually, doing all the fancy stuff on the podcast in the background. So that's exactly what we have Ryan for. And it's nice to get his opinion on some of the things we're going to talk about, because we've seen some of the videos and the previews that we put out. And I know that obviously the club season and everything in terms of that has come to a close. Now we're getting into the school season. Talked about all the rankings yesterday, but a lot of drama, a lot of other stuff happening. So, yeah, a lot of good stuff to touch on, and it's a nice little format.
You know, we talked yesterday about U.S. men's national team, Pulisic, and his comments, you know, on Paramount in his docuseries about the pundits, the media. We sounded off a little bit about it yesterday, and I had some time to reflect on what he said. And I also, you know, putting in perspective of where we are all going to be here in less than a year, I continue to try to figure out why, if you're concerned about the media and what the media is saying about you, that you would give them more fodder for your cannon. You know, like, I don't understand it, dude. I don't understand why, if you are that. My wife would be the first one to tell you, Nathan, that when I'm complaining about something, is that, you know, if I want it to end, I probably need to stop complaining about it. I'm assuming you agree with me on that, right?
I think if you want it to end, you should go win some games.
Well, I meant like if we're all going to sit here, let's be honest. The Gold Cup happened. The Gold Cup, yeah, we didn't win it, but we put a good effort in. We can all talk about the effort that was put forth, right? We can all agree that while we didn't win it, we did a pretty good job without our best players, and still found a way to be very competitive and almost win the whole damn thing. That happened, right? We did it without Pulisic. And so, yes, we could have a bunch of conversations, but me and you weren't talking anymore about Pulisic for the most part. We were kind of all done with it. He, you know, and obviously, you know, Paramount, CBS is trying to sell, you know, more Paramount Plus, you know, subscriptions. So they're going to drop these, you know, 30-second hooks, and they're going to hook us in, and that's what they did. That's what they should do. But
it's great TV.
You're right. You should actually win games. We don't disagree on that. But I'll give you a perfect example. My aunt and my uncle, who live in it's here in the United States. I'm not going to say where they live, what city, but they currently have a neighbor they do not get along with. They don't get along with this neighbor at all, and it's almost like tit for tat, right? Well, this neighbor does this, and then we're going to find another way to be able to, you know, do something that's going to get an emotional response out of them, and then. Sure enough, they do another thing, right? So this back and forth, it's never going to end. I was just talking with her about it yesterday. I'm like, are you ever going to, like, stop doing this? And she's like, no, we want to be comfortable and happy. I go, well, but you're also doing that in spite of them. If you had good neighbors, you wouldn't do that. And she said, you're right. We're in this spot where we feel this need, this urge to try to correct or try to sell someone why we are the way we are or why we're doing something. Pulisic is trying to save face. You know, he's trying to save face. To call the media evil. It's like to and you said have his dad fight his battles for him. I'm not gonna. I mean, parents are parents. I'm not gonna go into that. I mean, as someone who is a parent, I can tell you that I would absolutely fight for my kids. I don't hold that against Pulisic. What I hold against him is that he's still bringing this up and has the audacity to attack the media as if somehow they're the ones responsible for whatever's happening in his world. That's the problem that I have. You know, we're not the problem. I mean, we're not the solution, but we're definitely not the problem. I mean, our job, and again, we say this loosely because we're now in this, but our job in the media is to be critical.
Yeah.
And good or bad, it's to be critical. We have all said how good Pulisic is. He is arguably one of the best players to ever wear a U.S. men's national team jersey. I still don't think he's the best. I think he still has to do some other things. But he will. People keep saying he will go down as the best U.S. men's national team player in history. Now, again, I still think there's time for that to be decided. But I think to attack the media, you know, it just opens you up to a really bad place, and I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. I know that you don't like it. We talked about it yesterday, but we're less than a year away, and we're talking about how Christian Pulisic doesn't like the media.
This is the problem with having spoiled kids. Okay? I've seen this before in life. I understand how this works. I've met people like this. You grow up in a household. Let's say you're an only child. Now, that doesn't necessarily have to be exactly like that. You know, it doesn't have to be one kid. I mean, it could be a collection of kids. You know, sometimes you grow up entitled. You grow up in a family where everything is handed to you, and you are the greatest thing since sliced bread. You know, those families where they post their kids on Facebook at least 10 times a week, you know, just how amazing they are. Look at all the great things that they're doing. You know, everything was bought for you. You got absolutely everything you wanted on Christmas. Birthdays weren't really just like a day where you like go do something fun. It was like the entire world comes to a stop because it's my beloved kid's birthday. Listen, I have no problem with spoiling your kids. I think it's great. I think if you're able to work and you have the fruits of your labor and you want to pass that on to your offspring and celebrate them, that's a great thing. You should be able to spoil your kids. You know, I have no problem, and I know that generations will call the next generation soft. Like, this is just something that happens throughout history. Look back at history, all of them. The next generation is lazy. They're soft. They don't want to work. They don't want to do this. Every single next generation has said the same exact thing. But the difference in this, in my mind, it's like having a spoiled child where everything is handed to you. Everything you're worshipped, you're crowned the greatest. When we talk about this current iteration of the U.S. men's national team, again, they were called the Golden Generation because of, we talked about it yesterday, how much better, more skilled, more tactically sound, coaching, reffing, all of it has taken a giant leap forward. And I know I was pretty fired up yesterday when I talked about, you know, Alexi Lalas, you know, admiring how far we've come as a country in the United States with all of that stuff. But part of it is that the generation of soccer players, and I think this is a cultural issue when it comes to the game as well. Now, again, I can only speak so far into this because I didn't actually grow up playing the game. Okay, and I don't think little tykes when I was, you know, 7 years old running around on a field, or 5 or whatever my age was, I don't really count that as being like, you know, I played the game before. I feel like if there's anybody that can talk to this, it's probably Ryan, and it's the reason why when I talked to him exclusively, I asked him about a lot of these things. But there's such a, not just a country club culture when it comes to soccer in the United States. When it comes to these players in particular, and when it comes to Christian Pulisic, he's catered to. Everything has been handed to him. And when the media does nothing but worship him, there's really no notes. There's nothing to talk about. And how unbelievably spoiled. Because I look at U.S. men's soccer as the spoiled child of the family. Because the media doesn't really, you know, the media doesn't really care to get in on them. The media doesn't really care to tee off. And if you think Landon Donovan and Tim Howard is the media, if that's the worst you can do, freaking Landon Donovan, who speaks like this on his podcast all the time and just talks very directly, and he's just like, I don't understand. I don't understand why they don't care. Really? You don't have to deal with Stephen A. Smith. You don't have to deal with Skip Bayless. You don't have to deal with the New York media. You don't have to deal with any of those outlets. I mean, imagine what it's like to be a baseball player, a football player, any of those things here in the United States. I mean, it's every day, all the time. I mean, we hear about, like Aaron Rodgers. They've torn that guy to shreds. Poor guy disappears into the mountains to go do some meditating for a little bit during the preseason, and it's like, you know, does he even care? I mean, I've seen so many different stories of athletes who have done much greater things, who have been torn apart by the American media, but they're just not in soccer. So they don't understand what it's like to deal with that level of media pressure. Now it finally comes to you. We get a half-hearted explanation as to why you're not in the Gold Cup. I don't know. I mean, it's just coach's decision. Who knows? I'm just not there. You know, all these other players follow your lead, right, because you're Captain America. And we talked about the expectations and the burden on your shoulders. And herein lies the issue, right? When we talk about spoiled kids, when it comes to taking accountability and being the one to stand up in front of the class or in front of the group and be like, no, this is how we're going to do this. we're going to handle ourselves in a different way because we realize the sense of urgency of the situation, right? Nations League was an absolute and utter failure. I mean, the one of the more popular videos we've ever posted was me freaking out about their loss to who was it again? Panama. Yeah. I mean, and then following up with that with a loss to Canada, and that's when we had our quote starters. We had our best players involved in that tournament. So it creates a sense of urgency when it comes to the Gold Cup. And not even just that, JT, showing up for the guys, being there, being around them, showing your face, being in front of the camera, being an ambassador for what this team is. No, you literally just disappeared because you can't handle the media pressure. But the media pressure when it comes to soccer players in the United States is former players on the U.S. men's national team. That's about it. Yeah, there are members of the media now, but you're not dealing with a lot of these other outlets. And I always bring it back to the comparison of in other countries, especially with Mauricio Pochettino, especially when it comes to their star players, they would be in the jackpot right now. There's a different level of media expectations. And so that's the problem in my mind. And we're just seeing it now because obviously all this is past. All this has already happened. We're nearly to September. So we got some big matches coming up that obviously this team needs to focus on, and a couple of top 30 teams in the world. So that's going to force them to really have to buckle in and focus and do what they need to do. But the media, after praising them all these years, is finally starting to clue in on the fact that maybe mentally, culturally speaking, they're just not where they need to be. And instead of addressing that head on and being extremely forward and, again, leading the pack from the front, Pulisic wants nothing to do with that. He whines, he cries, he doesn't want the spotlight. And the overwhelming majority of responses on social media are exactly that. Like, it is becoming hard. It's becoming very hard to want to cheer this team on, to buy into this experiment. To believe that just because we're sending more players overseas and we have more players playing in the highest leagues across the world, that we even stand a better chance than where we were in 22. I remember coming out of that tournament in 22 and going, hey, we're moving in the right direction. Hey, we drew against England. We showed a lot of flash. This is a very young squad. I mean, we are on the way up in every single regard, and then you see what a little media pressure does to absolutely make this team buckle. And what do? Well, much like a spoiled kid, you start pointing fingers. Well, he did this. He didn't do that. They didn't win this. They didn't win that. You're evil. There must be something wrong. It's not me. I don't have to take accountability. Mom and dad told me my entire life I'm the most amazing thing ever, and I've never done nothing wrong. Yeah, it's not my issue. But like I said yesterday, Landon Donovan was a part of the best U.S. men's national team in history. They've had their signature wins. They've had their signature games. And again, if the World Cup is our measuring stick, as in they haven't won anything, well, again, so has 95% of the rest of the world hasn't won a World Cup. It's not about winning a World Cup in my mind. It's about putting together a performance that inspires, and the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity you're going to get to play this tournament on your home soil. And if we're tracking this in terms of timing, right, I'll be what? 50-some-odd years old, mid-50s, if we ever get this opportunity again. That's the most discouraging part. And I understand what they were saying at the North American Soccer Expo. I get it. But if they want to play for the United States and they want to represent the United States, there's a certain way we do media in the United States, and it's not by coddling. Okay, so I think that's our first lesson for the players who are representing our country. Maybe you didn't have to deal with that growing up. That's fine. I'll give you that. People were willing to cater to every single thing that you wanted. Not now, because you're wearing the red, white, and blue. Expectations change.
I want to continue this conversation. We got to take a quick break. We come back, we'll continue this conversation because I don't know if I agree with you on the spoiled part, but or the coddling maybe, but the spoiled part maybe not so much. But we'll come back here after our first commercial break. You're watching Inside the Game here, episode number 138 here on this Friday morning.
Boost your brand with NSN's live soccer broadcast, reaching a passionate audience in real time. Engage fans during thrilling soccer matches. Maximize visibility with tailored ad packages. Add 30-second or 60-second commercials for concise, impactful messaging and greater audience connection. Call 586-304-4405 and start your campaign today.
The Flint City Bucks are Michigan's top soccer franchise with 4 national championships, 9 conference titles, and 15 Great Lakes Division titles. They have produced 107 players for Major League Soccer, and they focus on attracting top talent and shaping soccer's future. Michigan Bucks Academy joins MLS Next new competition tier starting in September of 2025. This offers elevated levels of play and flexibility for high school participation. The Academy will provide premier development, high-performance training, and exposure to scouts through regional tournaments and MLS Next events. For more information on tryouts, training programs, and key updates as we prepare for our first season in MLS Next new tier, visit MichiganBucksAcademy.com.
Welcome back here into our Inside the Game podcast, live on the National Soccer Network. Nathan Wengler alongside Jonathan Turner. That's my name, right? But either way, we're happy to have you back. And Nathan, I know that you had kind of gone off and talked about being spoiled, and I've had a chance to watch the Pulisic. And here's the thing, right? Because everyone calls him Pulisic, but he actually, I think, wants to go by Pulisic. Right, so being that Croatian last name, but maybe we'll stick with Pulisic. I don't know. Either way, what I want to say is this: I don't know if I agree with you on the spoiled part. I've seen what this kid went through. He didn't grow up in a rich family. All right, so what he specifically him, he has gone overseas and played in England. He played there really young. He came here to Detroit. His dad was the coach of the Detroit Ignition, right, in the MISL. For 3 seasons, okay? And there's no money in indoor soccer coaching, okay? So I think we need to make sure we state that, right? And so now his mom, I don't know what she did for a living. She probably brought in most of the money based on the fact that, he was, again, coaching Detroit Ignition. And so I don't know if he is spoiled. I think that he would, to be fair, this is a kid that went to Germany at, 17 years old, learned to speak German so that he could talk German to those people out there, the fans. He was speaking fluent German in his last game at Dortmund before he went on. And so if I'm going to be critical of Pulisic, it's not him being spoiled or being coddled. I'm critical of him because I think on some level he doesn't owe us anything. I think that's what, and that's I think the problem too with athletes is like somehow they don't owe it. No, to be fair, your fans deserve this from you. They deserve you to be able to be open and upfront, not just about your personal life, but about your athletic life, right? Your sport. The fan base deserves that, and how do you do that? You do that in the form of talking to the media. And so, is Pulisic guilty of a lack of communication? Absolutely. Is he guilty of not handling himself accordingly in this circumstance? Absolutely. Is he guilty of being spoiled? No, I don't think so. Not at all. Now, his entire family uprooted their entire lives many, many times across his lifetime, of which he excelled in all of those environments. To go over and play in the academy system in England and have success there in 1 year is phenomenal. right? And then you hear the pathway of people saying how good this kid was and what he needed, what he could do on a soccer field. Like you saw this in this documentary, this series that followed Pulisic. I mean, it's unbelievable to think about what he's been able to do in his short time on this earth. But he's nowhere near where he needs to be as far as in the U.S. men's national team aspect. And that's the part that we're talking about here this morning. And we've talked about it quite a bit, Nathan, me and you. We've talked about this whole thing about Christian Pulisic and this U.S. men's national team. And to be fair, I would probably argue that the biggest challenge right now is that Christian Pulisic is the best player on this team. And how close is second? How close is second? Like, who is the second best player on this U.S. men's national team, and how far are they from actually Christian Pulisic's level? Because we don't talk about that enough. Okay, you're talking about, we talk about how if, and this is where I thought this was funny. So, there was a player here in the U.S., in the MLS, that had the audacity the other day to say that they're actually close to the Premier League. I don't remember the player's name because they play in the MLS. I mean, we talk about, I don't know the player's name. I mean, who is this person? I've never heard of him before. I think he plays for Nashville. He said in some interview that they're close to, like, the MLS is close to the Premier League. And I got to go, like, what? Like, come on, really? You're actually going to make that statement? If that was the case, we would literally have the New York Times, and every other media outlet on earth would be putting all this time and dedication into the MLS predictions as they do in the Premier League predictions, which if I Googled that right now, 400 publications in the United States do that. I don't think 400 publications do MLS predictions. I think it's even close. And so, skip that for a moment. Who is the second best player on the U.S. men's national team? Because I think that Christian comes back and goes, oh, shit, I got to play with who? Who am I playing with? Does this person even measure up to me? I mean, again, that.
Well, cool. Then don't play.
Huh?
Then don't play.
What do you mean don't play?
Then don't play for the U.S. men's national team.
No, I'm saying that there's this thing that it's a psychological thing with players. I mean, you take a team. You have your best player, and then you have your worst player at the very bottom, right? The worst player, the lowest caliber player, right? In every training session on earth, you aren't coaching to the highest level player. You're coaching to the worst level player. That's how that works. In every environment on earth, you're coaching to the player that needs the most work. Why? Because they're the ones that are going to bring the training session down. If you've ever been a part of a training session, and Ryan, as a player who's played soccer, I'll bring you in on this one because you were part of this. I can only imagine. Anchor Bay High School, right? Your whatever club you played for, or we'll get you in here now, you played for a club, right? And so you know this. Who was the best player on your team? You knew who that was. Maybe it was you. So,
no, it was not me.
All right, so best player on your team, worst player. All right, did the whole team not like that player in a lot of cases? Did they struggle with that player? Was there animosity when that player got on the field? Was there a little bit of trust issues that they ever got in the field? Did you go, oh crap, Joey's on the field? Oh boy, hang in there. Were those things that went through the mindset of players? Did that have a psychological component to like how you treated that player and how your team overall went with that particular player?
Yes, in some case, you didn't want him to be on your training team, your scrimmage team. You didn't want him to be on the same team. But at the same time, if he entered the game, kind of meant that the game was already over and you already won or you already lost, kind of like a human victory cigar.
Oh my gosh!
but no, I mean, we didn't hate the kid off the field, but off the field there was definitely, or on the field, excuse me, there was a little bit of oh shoot, he's on our team, or we can attack his side, whatever side he was on. But yeah, I would say there was a little bit for sure.
And the reason why I bring this up is not because Christian Pulisic is I don't want to play with these players. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying there's a psychological component to this. You're over across the pond. You've got players like Tim Weah, right, who are over across, McKinney, right, Reyna. These players, now that we have Matt Turner back, he's back here playing for the Revolution. These are all players that have gone across the pond. I would exclude Matt Turner maybe for a moment because, again, he didn't get a lot of playing time across the pond. But, the other players have had significant roles in a lot of cases. They're coming back, and they're playing with teammates who maybe aren't to that level. And so there is a psychological aspect to this. And I think that we need to talk about that. You can say don't play. That's not the answer. The answer is not playing. The answer is improving the players so that everyone feels as though this is the best opportunity, right? Again, you've got now, I would imagine on some level, Lionel Messi experiences this too. I would imagine that Cristiano Ronaldo experienced this because, again, they're their best player on their team, and then who's number two? And I don't know who number two on U.S. men's national team is. Who is number two? Is it Gio Reyna? Is it Weston McKennie? Is it Tim Weah? Who is the second best player on the U.S. men's national team?
Tyler Adams. I'm not really quite sure what the point of the question is, though. What we're trying to get at here.
Well, understanding the talent on our team, and then more importantly, what's the difference in talent between the best player and the second best player? What's the difference? What's the significant difference?
Okay. Yeah. There's probably a fall off there.
Well, yeah. I mean, what's the fall off between Lionel Messi and the next best player on Argentina? Is there as a drop off? Is there as significant?
I think if you're talking about the best player of all time, then yeah, probably.
Cristiano Ronaldo on Portugal. Who's the second best player on Portugal? Is there a significant drop off between number one and number two on that team? I would argue that right now the gap between Messi and number two on Argentina is probably less of a gap than it's ever been. But.
We have a phone a friend. We could always phone our friend in the producer seat if we want to refer to him.
For Portugal, I don't even think Ronaldo's probably not even the best player anymore.
No. I don't probably agree with that statement.
Not at this age, yeah.
Argentina, let's see. I've always liked Julian Alvarez. He's always been good. But, I mean, Messi's still a consistent top player, not as he was, but there's definitely a little bit of a less gap. I would still go Julian Alvarez for Argentina. He plays at Atletico right now. But for Portugal, Ronaldo's probably
third.
Because Bruno Fernandes would probably be ahead of him. Bernardo Silva, Rafael Leao. Yeah, I don't even know if Ronaldo's top 4 or 5 over there. Falling off.
Yeah, again, just putting this in perspective, and again, the reason why I say this and the reason why I ask this question is we're talking about spoiled. We're talking about being coddled. Pulisic, if he's spoiled of anything, he's been spoiled to be around great players his entire career. Right? He's been around great players, great coaching, great players. I mean, everywhere he's gone. I mean, from his 16 years old and on, he has been in some of the best environments in the world.
Definitely Dortmund.
Yeah, Dortmund, right? AC Milan. I mean, Chelsea. I mean, these are places that have been very, very good and have very good players. And again, he's going into an environment where he's not the best player, right? And so I think he's been coddled in that way, that he's spoiled to having great players around him all the time. And then you come back and you're not necessarily around great players. You're around better than average players. In comparison. And I don't think, if you think about this too, Christian is not the leader of those teams. He's not, quote unquote, the leader in that locker room. But we expect him to be a leader 10 games a year in U.S. men's national team territory, but then go back and be, the third or fourth, leader in the locker room across the pond. Are we asking too much of him? And the reason why I said the second best player is because somebody else has to step up if U.S. men's national team want to be successful, not just in regards to how they play, but in leadership. And who is that next best player? Because, again, players respect talent. Players respect hard work. And that's why I said, the worst player on the team, if the coach came over and gave Joey, who was the worst player on the team, the captain's armband, the team would be like, whoa, Wait, what?
It had to have been senior night. Then. Had to have been senior night.
It had to have been senior night, right? So who's the second best player? Who's the third? Who are the top players on the U.S. men's national team that would be deserving of wearing the captain's armband so that Pulisic could do what Pulisic does? Because I think the weight of being a captain is too much. I don't think he's ready for that because he's not a leader anywhere else. He's a great player amongst other great players. And he's having a great season at AC Milan this year. He's had a best start ever. But he's not a captain. Not wearing the captain armband, right? He's not a captain at AC Milan. I go, so are we putting this captain? Here's what we typically do in this country. We take the best player and say, you're our captain. And rightfully so. But typically our captains play a lot of time in that role for that team. I mean, you don't take your – and I imagine in the NFL, like your backup quarterback, if they step in for Tom Brady or step in for like Jared Goff, they have to wear the captain's armband maybe. I don't know. I don't think I see Hendon Hooker wearing the captain's armband for Lions. I don't know. No. But if he's going on a run and after 4 weeks he's leading the team, he's getting that captain's armband, right? So – we were just talking about this before the show about too early to put a person in the minors into a role and push them into major leagues, right? We just talked about this.
Yes.
Pushing them too quickly.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we push Christian too quickly. He's able to excel on the soccer field. But is he the right person to lead the team?
I would say no. I think Tyler Adams could be a better captain. I would say the second best player is McKennie. That's just my opinion. I could see I always like the captain to be of any team, whether it's club or country, to be a midfielder or a center back. I just think that they're more suited for the captain's armband. I know there's a couple exceptions. Messi and Ronaldo are on a different realm, different world when they were back in their primes. That's totally different. But I always thought Tyler Adams should have been the captain. I just think he has that demeanor. That toughness, that leadership quality. I don't necessarily think Pulisic's a leader just quite yet. But at the same time, though, do we have to lower our expectations for Christian Pulisic? I feel like
exactly.
I think we put him on a pedestal. We call him the LeBron James of soccer. And LeBron James is the second best player, in my opinion, of basketball in all time. And Pulisic is not even, top 100 of all-time soccer players? So I think we've got to lower our expectations and lower the bar of Christian Pulisic.
I think that's catering. Personally, guys, listen, if you're the best player, there are expectations that come with that. And you know that there are expectations that come with that. You know that there are going to be pressures that come with that. You know that there are people that are going to hold you to a certain standard. That is how this goes. I'm sorry. I didn't make the rules. That's what sports is. And so when he comes in, this is on his shoulders for not embracing it. And listen, if you don't want to wear the band on your arm, that's symbolic to me in a way. And maybe it means a little bit more, and maybe someone else should be the one to step up and say something. But they follow your example. We saw this. When he made this decision, they followed his example. And so by us sitting here and saying, well, he's coming back and playing with lesser players, guys, they're professionals. They are professional soccer players. Yes, they don't match up to the level of Argentina and Spain and Germany. We get that. That's a fantasy land to ever think that that's going to be the case. When you are the best player in a group, there are expectations that come with that. And so this is, again, a part of that documentary.
You have to be a leader. Is that the expectation?
Yes.
That is the expectation.
What you're just gonna fall? Yes, absolutely.
I feel like Michael Jordan was the. Would we put Michael Jordan as the best leader in the history of mankind? I feel like he was the anomaly in leadership. No.
How was he an anomaly in leadership?
Dude, I don't. People say he was a really bad teammate.
Michael Jordan was.
He was because he expected a lot out of his teammates. He was a lot like Kobe.
I don't know if he was the best of the media either. Was he the best of the media, Michael Jordan?
Probably
no,
not.
But he was in front of the camera.
First things first, if you're going to sit here and tell me from my chair right now that if all I got out of Christian Pulisic was goals and shots and all he ever did was win, I wouldn't give a shit. I don't think he needs to be in front of the microphone. That I don't care about, as long as he's on the field. I think what we're talking about here are one and the same. What he does in the field is really important. Now, again, how he handled this situation is what we can dissect. He didn't go out there and make a video and say, hey, guys, I need a breather. I'm tired. Had he done that, maybe we're not as pissed off. Maybe we're like, oh, that's the human side. He didn't call a press conference. He just sent a note to, which he did go to Pochettino and say, hey, I can play a couple games for you over here. And he's like, no, if you're not going to play for all of it, don't bother. That was a coach's decision, which is absolutely the right decision by Pochettino. Yes. But had he come out and said, hey, guys, and had a press conference, we'd still be debating about why he shouldn't have done it, but at least we would have respected the decision and we would have had to dissect it, right? But digest it properly.
That's what a leader does.
That's our problem, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what a leader does.
Well,
a leader shows up.
A leader, I think that would just be
the leader shows their face.
You know.
Well, right. It's the right thing to do, but that's what someone who leads from the front, that's what they do. And this is, again, part of that documentary. There's a large section. Zlatan Ibrahimovic obviously makes an appearance in this documentary, and that was something that he was talking about, is getting Pulisic to accept the fact that he's the best soccer player from our country, that he is the guy that has to carry the torch. I don't make the rules. You don't make the rules. This is how it is. If you are the best player on the team, you have to lead from the front. Yes, I would say MJ was a great leader. Now, obviously, in his own unique way, was he I don't know, excuse my French, was he kind of a, I don't even know what word to use in this situation. But, yeah, because he had high expectations of everybody else around him.
It's just from someone that's played this game and coached this game and been a part of this game, oftentimes the best player was not the leader. I can tell you that right now. I can tell you that because it always didn't correlate. I'm just saying that the hyper-focused, most talented player on the field oftentimes was the worst leader. But they led by the way that they played. And so if we're talking about it from the soccer standpoint, and I've been around soccer my entire life, a lot of the best players out there are not captains. Or they might be a captain, but they are not the captain. And now you know what I mean when I say the captain. They're the locker room cheerleader, right? That's not oftentimes. To be fair, it might be your second or third best player. And that's why we're talking about Tyler Adams or Weston McKennie being like, maybe they're the rah-rah, like, let's go, guys. Christian Pulisic is just going to go out there and run through people. He'll lead by example. He'll lead by the way that he plays. But he will not be the guy that goes up to the microphone and says, hey, guys, let's go, and tell how it is. I mean, that's not him. And we can talk all day long about, well, that's your role. No, that is not your role. That is absolutely not your role.
Okay, but let me ask you this as a former coach. What is the one thing that's most important to a team that's successful? Culture, right? Having a good and healthy culture, that's like step one in being able to win consistently. Yeah. How does that start? Service to each other, showing up for each other, for the guys who are wearing that uniform. Like being there, being in front of the camera, addressing the media, showing up when it matters. Like all those things matter. They still matter. Even if you're not considered the leader, they matter.
You're telling me you think that the Detroit Lions, or any team for that matter, any team, you're telling me right now that in the locker room, those guys actually give a shit about who steps in front of a camera? I can tell you that they don't give a flying rat's ass who steps in front of the camera.
It's also Dane Campbell.
What are you talking about right now?
Those guys actually care about that? That's not something. That's part of their job. If you were to ask
they care about showing up for each other. Yes. Did you watch Hard Knocks?
You're talking about media. Me going and standing next to my teammate and having his back, whether that be in front of a camera or not, is having their back. But being in front of the media,
that's fine.
What does the media have anything to do with that?
Yeah, but he wasn't on the sidelines. He wasn't in those rooms.
He wasn't allowed to be there. Once you are not on the roster, you cannot be there. You can't be be in the stadium. You can maybe in the stadium up in the press box, but I mean, if you're if we're pissed off that he took a break and didn't communicate that properly, we're pissed off he took a break. I think we're pissed off he didn't communicate it properly. Not that he took a break.
That's a part of it.
The break is one
thing.
But
I think this is a much larger issue than just the break. That's why we're talking about it right now. This is a bigger issue with how we addressed everything in the moment. That's indicative of a much larger issue than just the Gold Cup. That's the point we're trying to get at here. Especially with the World Cup being inside of a year.
Yeah, the point that we're getting at is that we're blaming the media, is that he's blaming the media, and that somehow the media is responsible for this. And what I've been trying to communicate throughout this last 45 minutes, is that I don't think that, one, Christian Pulisic wants anything to do with the media, which is clear. But I don't think that that makes him a bad leader. I think what makes him a bad leader is that he doesn't want to be a leader. I think that's what it is. I don't think he wants to be a leader. He just wants to go play soccer and be good at that and let somebody else step into that role. And I don't know why we have a problem with that. Why is that a problem? But just because he's the best player? No. If you don't, it's 2025. If you don't want to be a leader, damn it, then don't be a leader. If you want to be a leader by example, great. He can do that in spades. I firmly believe that. Clint Dempsey, Landon Donovan, these are great, great players. Argue that they weren't the best leaders. They were just really great players, gritty, tough. You know, I don't think that Landon Donovan would go down as one of the best leaders in the history of men's soccer. Landon Donovan will go down as one of the best players in men's soccer, in U.S. men's soccer history, because of the things he did in big moments. Clint Dempsey, the same thing. Tim Howard, the same thing. I wouldn't say they're the best
we don't
leaders.
have that.
Huh?
I mean, what's their signature win?
Whose signature win?
That's the other side.
Who are you talking about? Whose signature?
Mexico.
No, I don't know who you're talking about.
The U.S.
What team?
U.S. men's national team.
Like right now?
What is their signature win?
I think he's
If how he's going to lead is proving it on the field, what's their signature win?
They don't have a signature win. What does that have anything
Right.
to do
So
with leadership, though?
So then how are you leading? If you're not leading in the media and if you're not leading on the field, then where's the leadership? That's my question.
I'm specifically talking about Christian Pulisic.
Right.
And the fact that he's not a leader. I don't know where their signature win or lack of signature win has anything to do with his leadership. We've already established that he is not a good leader. And whether he was a good leader or not, I don't think that they have those signature wins anyways. And so, they don't have a signature win. To be fair, that's more indicative of the fact that we don't have an identity at the U.S. men's national soccer team. There's no identity. We have no clue what we stand for or what we're all about.
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem. And that's because we have U.S. soccer from top to bottom has no idea what the hell we are. We have a culture problem. You talk about culture. How could this U.S. men's national team be successful? We have no idea what we're trying to do in a soccer field. You know, we have no clue. We're trying to be something that we're not. We're trying to be this European style of play. We're not that. We should, if we want to do anything, we'd be a hybrid of it, but we don't know how to do that well. We don't know what we are, and that's our problem. But from the standpoint of Pulisic, and Pulisic only, not the rest of the team, because the rest of the team, it is what it is. He is not a leader. He is not going to be the person that goes in front of a microphone outside of answering questions pertaining to his role in a game. He is not going to go in there and tell everybody what to do. He doesn't seem to be that guy. And from all points, he wants to be by himself. He wants to be, he's not a leader. And I think that's the first step for him is to come, which I think he already has said that, but I think we in the media are like, well, nope, you're the best player in the United States, so you should be this person. No, have somebody else step into that role. Because I can tell you this right now. Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams, Tim Weah, whoever else is in this team are probably craving for that. They're probably dying for that. They would love that.
I think it's just Adams.
But they don't show up?
Huh?
But they don't show up to play in the biggest, the last major tournament before the World Cup?
Yeah, I don't know if, again, I don't disagree with you on the part about it being a major tournament. But if you're going to sit here and tell me that this team, if they all took a break, if we look at this 9 months from now, 10 months from now, and this team goes in there and gets their way to a semifinal, I don't give a shit what they did this summer.
I think we're living in a fantasy land if we think that's going to happen. I think we're living in a fantasy land if we think that's going to happen.
Well, we don't know what the draw is going to be. And I don't think that they're going to do very well in this tournament. We've already talked about that.
We do know who's going to be the draw. England will be in the draw in the group. We already know it.
Oh, okay, well. We already know England's going to be in there, I guess, according to our producer, right? But the draw takes place in December. If they get a favorable draw and they do well in group play and get out, then things could be. Then they have a chance of obviously doing something really special. Now, winning a World Cup is definitely not one of them. but again, if they go on to a quarterfinal and they do well in a quarterfinal game, I don't think we give a shit what they did and didn't do in the Gold Cup. The Gold Cup. Again, if you said, John, quarterfinal World Cup or Gold Cup final, loss with Christian Pulisic in it or whatever, I'm going to sit here and tell you that the quarterfinal or, the win in the quarterfinals is way more important than the Gold Cup. And so, perspective, is everything. And yes,
right.
The Gold Cup is an important thing. I don't want to, I'm not going to try to, diminish the importance of the Gold Cup. But if we're talking about this team and how much soccer they're actually playing on a regular basis, these players specifically, and how we know that the European, calendar is different than that of the American calendar. I mean, this is their time when they would take their breaks, get their breathers, and now you're playing soccer in the middle of all of it, right? And so I feel like the biggest issue for me is that these players just didn't communicate it properly. And had they done that, I think that we would all be in a better place with it. We might not have accepted it. I think we would have been maybe more in support of it. It's how it was handled. It's not so much what was done, it's how it was done, right? And you're saying, hey, he should have been there at the field. Well, he couldn't be there walking around on the field. He's not on the roster. He can't do that. So he could go to a stadium and sit there. But again, we could argue he could watch the game from 3,000 miles away. I mean, I'm not going to knock him if he didn't show up to the environment when he wasn't showing up at all. That would be kind of productive to him taking a break. So I'm not going to give him any slack for that. But we can give him the slack for how he handled it. And again, we can debate about whether or not he needed the break or not. That's a fair debate I think we can have. And it's probably a healthy one to have. But I think the bigger issue is that he is not a leader, and we're expecting him to be Captain America. I mean, everyone calls him Captain America. Well, he ain't Captain America. He's not. He'll never be Captain America.
Okay, that's fine. So then who's he giving up the armband to? I mean, we keep talking about who's the second most talented player, but who's actually chomping at the bit to take the reins? I don't. Again, someone's going to show me that.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I don't give a shit who the captain is. I don't think it matters. On a soccer field, I don't know how much of a captain it matters. Yeah, I think it's more symbolic.
You don't need a leader in a clubhouse to win.
But if you ever watch a soccer game, the captains change. They don't have the same captain all the time.
No, I think we're getting caught up on the term captain. I could care less who actually has that band on their arm. It's who steps up in a locker room and leads a team, regardless of whether or not you have that on your arm or not. If you're weak, it's all about your weakest link. I mean, you were talking about the weakest link earlier. If your weakest link isn't doing what they're supposed to do, then everything else falls through the cracks. There has to be a certain level of unison from top to bottom when it comes to this team to ever have a chance to go out and win. I mean, I think we could talk about strategy. I think this is a bunker and counter kind of team. I think that we're a bunker and counter kind of nation. Obviously, I think the pride of these players is probably too much to ever play that way, but that's what we did in 2002. We could talk about all that. We could talk about formations, talk about coaching, talk about all those other things, but it starts with leadership in the clubhouse, regardless of whoever's wearing that band on their arm. And I understand that you've been around the game for a while, but you can't convince me that element doesn't matter.
No, it
that
does matter.
Stepping up and
it's not Christian Pulisic. And again, players respond to those who play well. And so there are a lot of players who are very good and are straight up assholes, and nobody responds to them at all, right? And there are a lot of really, I would say, average players that work their ass off, and players respect the hell out of because of how they work on their field and how they lead. Again, leadership comes in a lot of different shapes and sizes. I don't know who the leader is in the men's national team locker room. And to be fair, I don't know if I care. All I care is the result. The result has to be there. And the results have not been there. I could argue that that's, again, lack of culture and identity within our U.S. men's national team. Okay. I think that that's our biggest fundamental issue, right? I also think that the fact that, again, that we come together for like a week and then go play games, I think that also lies in the problem. I think we need to be together for longer periods of time. I keep saying that we should probably scrap this idea of players playing on MLS teams and just have them play professionally on the U.S. men's national team. That's their entire job. If we want to go out and win soccer games collectively and do that at an international level, we need to commit as a nation to literally having professional players playing on the same team for this country all the time. All the time. And if you did that, at least it'd be continuity.
I just think everyone in this country just wants players that give a damn. I think that's truly what everyone wants, and them all skipping the gold. And I think all of them skipping the Gold Cup, whether that was a coaching decision, whether that was a federation decision, whether that was just simply the players don't want to play. All they want is someone who gives a damn. That's what they want, because you're spending your time watching. You're spending hotel money, flight money, ticket money just to see these guys play, and all you want is the players to give a damn. I mean, they could all turn up. It's a weird situation, and I mean, Pulisic. I forgot what the player was, but this kid, American, moved to Dortmund recently, and he idolized Pulisic by saying, if Pulisic can go overseas, all of us can go overseas. And Pulisic is that golden child. Whether he likes it or not, he is that top guy. And whether he's the leader or the captain of that U.S. men's national team, he doesn't have to wear the captain's armband. As long as off the field, in the media, he's setting the example to the younger generation, setting it to the people. As long as he's acting like a professional, it's really all that truly matters. I mean, I think Adams is the captain. I truly think Tyler Adams is the captain. But as long as people say, thank you. Again, the standing twice today. But as long as it looks like they're giving a damn, as long as you're not acting like a kid out in the media, we don't see Lionel. Have you seen the way Argentina walks out onto the field? The players Messi comes out last, but the players all just wait for Messi to walk out. Is Messi the best leader out on the field? I don't truly know, but people know that he gives it his all the time. He doesn't bitch and complain. So that's why they respect him. I think all we need is Pulisic to be respectable, lead by example, off the field. On the field, he can do what he wants. He can have the players back him. That's how Argentina works. Is Messi does what he does on the field, and everyone just follows suit. That's all it is. And all they want, all they care about here in this country is for you to give a damn. That's all they want.
Yeah. Hey, well done. That's a grand slam swing by you. Well done. And a walk-off, too, because it looks like we're about a minute away from wrap. Yeah, we're about ready to wrap this show up. No, wonderfully stated. Wow, that was, yeah. No, the kids look up to him, man. Sorry, there's a certain burden of expectations that come with it. You're a pro. You have to man up to it. You have to embrace it. You have to be that guy. And if you don't, then we see the results that we see. Sorry, that's the world we live in. We live in the era of social media. We live in the era of big media. Anytime I see a U.S. men's national team jersey, it isn't a Weston McKennie jersey. It isn't a Tim Weah jersey. It isn't a Joe Scally jersey. It isn't a Cameron Carter-Vickers jersey. It isn't a Tyler Adams jersey. It's a Christian Pulisic jersey. That is your responsibility.
I'm telling this right now. There's not a single player wearing that jersey right now that gives a shit what he says in the media and how he leads himself in the media. It's what he does on the field. Not a single American fan cares how he conducts himself in the media or anywhere else. It's on the field. And on the field, he's a superstar. I'm talking about a player. I'm talking about the players you're talking about, because most adults don't walk around wearing Pulisic jerseys. Most players walking around this earth right now who have a Pulisic jersey on, don't give a shit about what he says in the media. Nor do they care about what Messi says in the media, because Messi doesn't say a whole lot in the media. It's what Messi does in the field. The player. Wes, we care, he gives a damn. But at the end of the day, we care what he does on the field. The fact that we're sitting here and talking about this is somehow like everyone cares what people do on and off the field. No, it's what they do on the field. The NFL built themselves on the whole thing. And the NFL is the gold standard of sports in this country. We let terrible people up until the last 5 years do whatever the hell they wanted off the field, and they were still considered gods on the field. And so, yes, I think there's something to be said about professionalism. I think there's something to be said about how you conduct yourself off the field. And for the most part, I don't know if Christian Pulisic, from a media standpoint, has ever really done anything outside of saying, I'm not going to play in this one, I'm taking a break, and not handling himself. Outside of that, but if you look at his body of work, You look at how he holds himself and the things he does in the communities he goes into. He's a pretty stand-up guy. Again, what we're talking about is how he doesn't necessarily lead this group of players in the way that we expect. And I'm just saying that he's not built that way. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that he's not a great player. He's a great player. He is arguably the greatest player to ever wear a U.S. men's national team jersey. But to sit here and say that we as Americans only care if they give a damn, I don't know if that holds water. I think
matters.
we do care that people. No. If it does, we wouldn't care. It's because they're not winning. If this U.S. men's national team was winning, we would not be saying that right now. Because if
they
that's
give
the
a
case,
damn,
I can sit here
they
and tell
might
you how
start
many
winning.
NFL players I feel like don't give a damn. I could look at for every NFL team. There's 30 players in that roster that I don't think give a damn. They're there for maybe a bunch of reasons, but have nothing to do with football. But yet they're winning, so that they win. When they win, it's great. I don't think for 1 second that if this team were winning in massive ways, we'd be giving a shit about how much they give a damn. But because they're losing, we're saying that.
Right. But it starts with giving a damn.
Yeah,
That's
again,
where it all
I
starts.
don't think Christian Pulisic doesn't give a damn. I think Christian Pulisic, just like everything else in this world, he is overstretched. He's spread thin, and he was trying to think about what the long game is and not the short game. And we're all pissed off about that because the short game matters in our world, not the long game. How quick can I get someplace? How fast can I do something? How fast can I break it? How quickly can I score a goal? All those things matter. It's not so much the end result. If in 9 months we're sitting here and we're talking about how they had a quarterfinal victory, we're not going to be talking about the Gold Cup and what he didn't show up for. But again, if they lose and they do shitty, we're going to say, well, if he had played in the Gold Cup, we might have had a fighting chance.
Right, but we don't
Monday morning
exist in
it.
we don't live with hypotheticals.
What do you mean we don't?
Yeah,
live
I mean,
hypotheticals? But that's exactly what we're
hypothetically,
doing.
if they win the World Cup, we won't talk about
I'm not talking
anything.
about winning
but
the World Cup, but you say hypotheticals.
yeah, well, hypothetically, if they do really well, we won't be talking about this, but we are because it's happening now. So that's the point of having this conversation. Is again, the way he responded is indicative of a larger issue within U.S. men's soccer. That's the point of what we're trying to get at. And there's a common belief, and it's shared amongst a lot of U.S. men's national team fans right now, that there's just a crop of players who just don't give a damn. There is a cancer inside of that locker room, whether that's Mauricio Pochettino, who doesn't know how to culture set, or if he can't get the most out of these players, or we should have hired an American. There's probably a lot of different reasons for that. But that is exactly where we are right now.
When we talk with those in the American Outlaws or have conversations with those who are not in the media, they don't all share those same sentiments. The media does. Us in the media.
That
share
what?
those sentiments. That there's this
That
issue
they don't
within
care?
the locker room of the U.S. men's national team. The players
That
themselves.
you don't
necessarily
think there's
share
an issue within the locker room?
I think that there's an issue within U.S. soccer, and the locker room is one part of that. But if we go back to the last World Cup,
fair.
we had literally a player and a coach and the U.S. men's national team in a shit show in the last World Cup. Before they even started, it was a shit show. So there's a significant problem. And then what do? We fire that coach, then rehire that coach, then bring in a new coach, and then that new coach brings in that former coach's son to play in the Gold Cup. We have a serious problem in this country that has very little probably to do with the players as we think it does, and more to do with the fact that we have no idea what we're all about. That is the problem. I keep saying it's a culture problem, an identity problem. We don't know that. But again, those are all things that I think will be solved over time with success. But if we go back to the original thing here, which is about Christian Pulisic is the best player on the U.S. men's national team roster. And the reason why I said who's the second best player and what the gap is because that second best player is probably the captain, the leader of this team, or that third best player. And if Christian Pulisic goes out there every game and does his best and does everything he does on the field typically, we'll be fine. I don't need him to be
But
like this.
does the second or third best player want that?
I absolutely do. Oh my God!
Really?
Players that want to be leaders want to be leaders. They rise at the top. And I can tell you this right now: players like Diego Luna, who are not the quote-unquote best players on this team, are craving for those opportunities. Absolutely.
I'd agree. I love Diego Luna.
Yeah, there's a bunch of players out there that would love the opportunity to be a leader of this team, both vocally and in the form of an example. I don't think for 1 second there aren't. There are some players that just aren't built. Again, I don't look at Messi and go, man, that guy is,
Who?
Oh, I think Weston McKennie. I think Adams. I think those players for sure. I mean, not Reyna. Reyna's not even close. I wouldn't put him anywhere near that whole idea.
So then show it.
Show what?
Prove it.
Well, it's not. I mean, I'm just giving you players' names. I don't know how to prove anything. I mean, they'd have to go out in the field and do that. But I don't know. Again, I don't know if I care who the quote-unquote leader is. It could be the 11th person on the roster. It could be the goalkeeper. It could be the center back. It doesn't matter. It could be Tim Weah. I don't care who leads this team as long as it equals success. Christian Pulisic is going to lead the team in the way he plays, just like Messi does. Messi leads in the way he plays, and the rest of the team follows. But Messi is not this vocal leader. He's not this guy going, that's not him. That's not Messi. It's never been Messi. He just plays off the wall, man. That guy's unbelievable. You know what I mean? And there are certain players in history where we say, man, they just weren't good leaders as far as like the vocal aspect of it. But man, way out in the field, they were players. They were ballers. We need a lot of ballers, and do we need somebody to lead them? Yeah, we have a coach for that. That's what the coach is for, right, to lead them. And then having a player on the field that could do that. Now, if there's a vocal leader out there that we need on the field, I don't care who it is who steps into that role, as long as it equals success. It's just not Christian Pulisic. He's not that vocal guy. He might go and clap and let's go, guys, and stuff like that, but that's all part of his mentality on the field. And again, if he can be that leader on the field, great. I just don't see him being a leader off the field. I don't see him being this guy that goes up to the microphone and says, hey, guys, and says all the right things and does all the right things. That's not him. It just doesn't seem to be the guy. And I don't know if I hold him to that is my point. I don't know if I had to hold him to how he conducts himself in front of a microphone. And so that's my opinion, and take it for what it is. I do think the Americans care about who gives a damn. I do think that we care about that. I just don't think that we care about that when we're winning. It's when we're losing we care.
I mean, to be fair, they haven't won much outside of Mexico. So, I mean, that's kind of the big thing, right, heading into the World Cup in 2026.
Well, again, if our measuring stick for the U.S. men's national team is World Cup success, then
I never said they're going to win a World Cup.
No, I'm saying if our measuring stick is World Cup success, we'll always be terrible.
We didn't have Gold Cup success. We didn't have Nations League success. You got blanked 4-0 by Switzerland in friendlies. I mean, there's not a whole lot of success to speak of. So, again, you can be a leader on the field, but you can also be a leader in the clubhouse too. It doesn't mean you have to be a content creator, but you can still be a leader in the clubhouse. What we saw in that documentary is indicative of something that's completely different, which I don't know if we have a leader in the clubhouse.
I think
which means we're probably not going to have one on the field.
I think that, this team is everyone's pointing fingers at the past. But that's a whole other conversation for another day. We've already stepped over here almost 13 minutes. But that will wrap up episode number 138 here of Inside the Game. If you like what you're listening to and watching, tune in here on Monday. We'll be back at it. Nathan Wengler and myself, along with our producer here in studio. But, again, 138 officially in the books. Come back here on Monday morning, same time, same place, right here on the National Soccer Network. For Ryan Glinsky and Nathan Wengler, I'm Jonathan Turner. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see you next time here on Inside the Game. From the biggest matches to the hottest takes, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wengler bring you the stories, the analysis, and the edge you won't get anywhere else. Streaming live weekdays at 9 a.m. on YouTube, Roku TV, Facebook, Twitter, and all major platforms. No filters, no fluff, just real talk, real soccer. This is Inside the Game.